Jousting Memorial Fund and currently works with the Word Poetry, co-creating effective and inclusive organizations. She's an intern at Beyond Diversity 101 and a leader at the New Haven Community Leadership Program. So so I'm going to ask the question that everybody wants to know first. That phenomenal picture that I posted of you. Tell us about that. How did that come about?
Marka, it was amazing. So I get the call from the folks at the Arts Council saying that I had been selected to receive the Phenomenal Woman Award in the arts last year, and as a part of that, you get to do a photo shoot. So that's sort of part of the award package. So each person got to take a photo, and so they selected the fine, wonderful people over at Lava Studio. So Mistina and Luke Hanscom, who are friends of mine, and I admire their work greatly. So I was overjoyed when I knew that that's where I was going to be taking my photos at. So Lava Studio and the range at Lava Studio is like a co-working community for creatives. It's also a photography studio, and I work out of that space often. Okay. So it was like, okay, I know them, I love their work, and they can do amazing things with lighting and all the stuff. And so I had picked out that dress. I had purchased that dress like a year prior to that, not knowing where exactly I was going to wear it or when it would feel right. And so it was just sitting in the closet, and I was like, okay, this is the day that I'm going to put the dress on. And actually, they said to bring like 3 different outfits for the photo shoot, and I did. And so for the first 45 minutes of the shoot, well, for the first 25 minutes or more, it was like makeup. This woman, Evelyn, was doing makeup. She was amazing. Of which I don't really wear a lot of makeup all the time, so it was like a lot. Getting in the eyes and all this. But anyway, so then I was wearing a different outfit for the first 45 minutes of the shoot. And I am not a model, but all the things that Mistina was having me do was like, now sit on this block and put your hands this way, now look this way, keep your chin out. It was like all these things that just felt so crazy. But I'm like, I know this is going to look great. I know this is for some reason. And then I was like, can I just put the dress on and like get to that part of it? She was like, okay, finally. So it was like the last 25 minutes, I was able to put the dress on, and I was standing up. So for the first like almost hour, I was sitting down, like from getting the makeup on to being in that first round. So I put the dress on, wrap my head up, and I was just excited because I was standing up, and there was this fan blowing behind me, so it would catch the dress every now and then. And then Mistina would say, like, pull the dress so that it catches the air. And then it was just like this moment happened. It was like one of my favorite songs came on, Golden by Jill Scott. And so like that was jamming in the background, and then like I was happy because I was standing up and the wind was blowing. But what I started to feel in the room was like my ancestors coming to like witness me, and like just kept coming until like this whole room was filled with of them. And I was envisioning just sort of like being before them. And that is, and like it was in those moments that Mistina captured, like there's like probably
I can
50.
see all of that captured inside of that photo.
Yeah, and it was just like I was proud, I was free, I felt seen.
Awesome.
And I was there, and it was because for me also, so. Yeah, that's what's behind that.
Well, it is all of that came through, and she definitely is a talent. And you may not be able to say that you're not a model anymore. I'm just saying.
I know. Many people have been like, how did that photo happen? Where is it? Like,
that's
where's
awesome.
that dress from?
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about you. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Sure. I was born in Detroit, Michigan.
Okay.
In the late 70s, and we lived in Detroit until I was like 13. But all my family mostly is still there.
Okay.
So my grandparents, were folks who did the Great Migration in the 30s from different places in the South and met in Detroit. Grandmother came up from Mobile, Alabama. Grandfather came up from Shreveport, Louisiana. They met in Detroit, as my grandmother says, at a soda shop. And yeah, they got married and had 7 kids, and so and pretty much just stayed anchored in Detroit. So I have a very close growing up family unit. So I grew up also like in the church, you know.
Okay.
So like my grandmother was a mother of the church, is still a mother of the church that I grew up at, and just very close to that community. And so, you know, in the congregation on Sundays, I'd say, you know, a large portion of the congregation were like the Washingtons, like my family.
Oh, okay.
And so.
Well, she had 7 kids.
I know.
Each one of those kids just have a kid, you know.
I know. Yeah, it's a good-
At least the first 4 pews.
Rolling deep.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
So, so then my mom, so I have an older brother, and then my mom got remarried when I was 12, and then after that we moved.
So it's just 2, you and your brother, 2
So
siblings?
well, actually, I have 4 siblings, or I have 3 siblings total. My mom and my stepdad had 2 kids when I was like in high school.
Okay.
So they feel like my children in a way because they're like 22, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, but when we moved to Texas, it was just me, my brother, and then my stepdad, my mom, and our cat Erie.
So what brought you to New Haven?
All right, so we got some time.
We have a few minutes left.
So went to Texas, finished the end of middle school and all of high school there, and that was one of my parents' biggest reasons for moving to Texas. My mom really felt the need of like needing to get out of Detroit, particularly for us, like for our education, and I got a really amazing education in Texas. The schools that I went to literally were like all new. So like my high school, when we moved there, it was brand new. Like there was no children, there was no students in it. We were the first class. Like my freshman class was the first class to go all 4 years there.
Okay.
So it was like amazing technology, amazing teachers who like got paid and loved their jobs, amazing opportunities. And I actually, you know, one of those was to be able to learn a foreign language, which I chose Russian.
Really?
So at the time when I was choosing, because my parents said you need to study a foreign language, which wasn't even an option. I should have taken Spanish, but because I'm always a little extra, I was like, but what? So Russia was in the news a lot. Like when I was deciding what language I was going to choose, like the coup had just happened, and this was like 92 or 93 or something. And so I was thinking, like as like a little person, like like. If I learn Russian, like maybe in my lifetime, it'll be important to know and to open up some opportunities as a Black woman who can speak Russian. And so when I was younger, I had this really clear vision of what my life was going to be. I was going to work for the State Department and be, like an ambassador or do foreign relations and things like that. That's what I was studying to do. So I studied Russian for all of high school and then for 2.5 years in college. And my plan was I'll work for the Peace Corps, then after that I'll start working for the government.
Okay.
So I did that. So I finished high school, I went to college in this wonderful place called Beloit. I studied communications and Russian and Soviet studies. I studied abroad. I finished college, I applied for the Peace Corps, and I'm like, I didn't think there was going to be no deviation from this plan.
Mm-hmm.
Applied for the Peace Corps, got accepted. I wanted to go to Russia or Ukraine, and they said, we're going to send you to China. And so I was
How did that happen?
I was like,
I didn't learn Chinese.
They don't speak Russian there. And so I was like, no. And so this was this moment in my life where I was like, well, what am I going to do? And so I was back at home. I was back in Texas at the time. You know, after finishing college, I was home for a year preparing to leave the country. Because, like, once you get accepted in the Peace Corps, all the stuff you have to do to be cleared, you know, medically, your finances got to be in order, like, all this stuff. So I was like, took a year to, like, plan. And then once I got my assignment, I was like, ooh, what am I going to do? I didn't plan on not getting what I wanted. And so I was in this state of like panic because at that time in my life, like being home, you know, already for you, I was like, I'm done being with my parents right now. Like, love y'all, and I need to just go live my life. But I didn't have a contingency plan. I had already like put my 2 weeks in at my job. Like I was like ready to leave the freaking country. And so just was calling some friends and talking to folks, and like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So in the Peace Corps, you can defer for a year,
Okay.
and then you can be reassigned. So I was like, I'm gonna shoot for that, and hopefully they will send me to Russia or Ukraine. But in that year, I was like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I talked with a couple of my friends. And one of my friends worked for this place called Nature's Classroom, which is like an outdoor environmental education program that's really based in like social emotional development. So students come out for like a week at a time to kind of like a camp. So they're like living there. The parents come. Some parent chaperones and teachers come, and you know a teacher will get assigned like 15 or 20 students, and then they're with for the week. And there's all this stuff they can do. It's a wonderful, amazing educational experience. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't know I liked children. Didn't know I would want to work with kids. Was not in my plan at all.
You had put in your 2 month notice and you wasn't going to China.
So my friend was like, well, come visit and see if you like it. And so he was like, because it would be a cool thing you could do for a year, right? So if you live out there with everybody, so your housing is taken care of, you get paid and you get fed, right? Okay. So I was like, okay, I could do that for a year. And so I came to visit. I loved it. I went to visit him in Ivyton, Connecticut. There's a site in Ivyton. And I was like, okay, I was like, I could do this. It was crazy, but I was like, this is a year. Why not? Okay. So I told my parents, I was like, I'm going to go into the woods of Connecticut for a year while I'm waiting for my new assignment. Peace out. So I did it. And I came to Connecticut, to Ivyton, Connecticut, which is like population like 200 or something. It's a very small town. And worked for Nature's Classroom for a season, and I loved it. I just loved the being back, north, and like I love the nature of the north, of the temperate forests, and just like the seasons. So it was just nice and environmentally to be back. But also like the program was really phenomenal, and the teachers I worked with were amazing, and all the students I got to work with. So did
you like come to Connecticut and never leave?
Yeah, pretty much.
We just trapped her.
So I worked for Nature's Classroom for a year, got my second assignment. They wanted to send me to Uzbekistan. The second one I had already broken out at that point, and so I was like, this is not in the cards for me right now. So then I worked another year for Nature's Classroom, and then wanted to continue to do environmental education work, but work with urban youth. Okay. Brown and black bodies and kids, and I did a Google search and found Solar Youth, and applied with them, and they hired me up, and I moved to New Haven.
Now you are most well known in New Haven for your artistry. Were you always an artist?
Yes, I would say I've always been an artist. But I think it was really about 5 years ago that I really took my artistry off of the back burner and moved it more into the forefront of my life. Okay. As something that I could combine with my organizing and activism work, instead that they didn't have to be separate. Okay. I really had this notion of can I really be an artist and be successful and responsible, financially responsible, and
not be a starving artist.
Right, because I don't want to do that. Right. And is it possible to use these gifts, right? Because it's just gifts, because I don't have to work for hard for really practice. It's just can I really utilize these things for better in the world, and not just to be navel gazing and thinking that I'm just great. And so I started to really use my artistry in a way that I felt was for the good of all, right? And in that, I have felt really received and successful with it.
What was that transition like? Because I think a lot of people have a gift, but they're but I need a paycheck. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how to combine the two. Yeah. What was that
so
like?
It was, and it continues to still be a balance of just how much time can I make in my life to be able to be doing various types of art projects, and also, and whether I'm pulling in money or funds from those at all, and then like have other work that is paying the bills and also bringing me joy in some way. I made a decision also about 5 years ago to really anything that I'm putting my life and energy work into, it needs to be work that is pushing humanity forward, like just like it has a humanitarian kind of mission or reason. Because I just do feel like you just never know when your time is coming. Life is short. It's a miracle, and I just made a pact to myself. I just never want to be stuck. I feel like I'm stuck in a 9 to 5. I feel like I'm stuck because I have to pay bills. Because to me, when I like really pen back and look at life, it's not about taxes or paying bills. It's about just this experience of being free and then supporting other people to also be free and liberated and showing up in my gifts as much as possible. And so it was not easy. It's not always easy. But in sticking to my beliefs and what is true to me and having faith, I don't know, I'm provided for. So it's like things appear, contracts show up, different projects come in and out. And so there was a long time in my life, right, that I was like, this is what I'm doing, this is the only thing I'm doing, this is the plan, this is the plan. And the more that I actually pull away from me saying this is the plan and creating something, and like I trust the process in the universe and how I'm guided, just amazing things unfold for me.
Awesome. Yeah. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to WNHHLP 103.5 FM, New Haven's home for community radio, also streaming live on tuneinradio.com. And we're on the New Haven Independent Facebook page. We're on Instagram. We are on Periscope. Stream me. If you're just in your car, you can go to 103.5 FM. We are everywhere, so there's no reason not to listen every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. I always remind you of that. And we are talking to the phenomenal Nieves Washington, who is the Arts Council Phenomenal Artist of the Year.
One of them. So every year the Arts Council of Greater New Haven, I believe they pick 4 or 5 awardees, and each year there's different themes. So last year it was Phenomenal Women in Arts, and I was nominated and voted and selected to receive an award, which was really special.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So tell me about your activism.
Yeah. So my mother was a huge just community organizer when I was growing up. I just remember there being like meetings in the basement, and there was always like something happening, block parties and food programs. By the early 80s, like the Black Panther movement, in terms of what it was, like in the 60s and 70s, was really coming to an end. Mm-hmm. But my mom was a part of the residuals of that, so she was doing a lot of community organizing as a part of that. She was still doing like the free breakfast program, organizing the food drives, clothes drives, taking in kids who've been kind of snatched up by the state. Like, so I grew up either just for my mom, but also my all I feel like the women in my family, just organizing people, bringing people together, cooking for folks, and like my grandmother, mother of the church, like making it run. So through just like osmosis in my life, it's just a part of me, that part of like organizing people, bringing people together, has always been just like in me. And so I feel like my activism work is around bringing people together as much as possible to hear each other and to witness and see each other. I feel like, we all have these phones, right? And so there can be this false sense of connection, especially when we are in crisis, right? When something, we need to be in triage mode. And so I feel like the more that groups of people can come together and hear each other's stories and witness each other and see each other, the stronger communities get, the more resilient communities can be, and the impact of that is less. It's not like activism work where it's like, okay, we're going to push for this bill to get passed, or we're going to go march to the state house and do this action. I feel like my work is like spiritual activism. It's much more on helping folks have the tools to actually see people, to hear and to listen. And so a lot of my work is around gatherings. Literary happy hour is one of the projects I've been working on for a few years, where we 4 times a year invite 3 or 4 different literary artists, like from writers, novelists, hip hop artists, singer-songwriters, poets. And so each session, there's 3 or 4 different folks who present, and then we do a talk back and hear about their process in their life. And it's very intimate, and people come. We usually have between like 40 and 60 people who come. And I'm actually in a wonderful partnership with the Keller Odell Gallery in Westville now. That's like a home base for that, which has been really great. And it's just been amazing. Every session, just like, for one, I get to just meet a bunch of new artists or people who I've seen but don't really know. And then they have people who then come and meet them and have exchanges and dialogues about their work. So it's like one of the things. There was, after the election, in 2016, Holly and I brought a huge group of people together just to witness, right? So it wasn't like, okay, we're going to go start a coalition after this, but it's like, we're in trouble and we feel panicked and there's trauma, right? So how do you get people together to sort of off-gas that a little bit? So we created these community conversations at Common Ground, which was really wonderful. And like hundreds of people came. We were like really surprised, but again, it was creating space for people to gather. And there's all types of science and stuff behind the intention of gathering and like how to create a space where people can feel safe and held. And so I feel like that is like the root of what I'm up to in my activism work.
And that leads us to your last project of actually being able to create a physical space in One Healing Village. Tell me about how One Healing, the idea of it came along.
Yeah, One Village Healing.
One Village Healing.
No, I get it. Yeah, because I went back and forth with that too when I was thinking about it. So One Village Healing has been just such a remarkable and joyous process of holding and actualizing in New Haven. And it has all types of different roots and beginnings. So literally for like years and years and years, I've wanted to have a physical place called the Hands of Hanifa, where I would like practice Reiki and healing work. I remember like joking about the name for a long time. One of my good friends so for like over 10 or 12 years, been thinking about having this space. And so as a Reiki practitioner, I've been doing energy work on and with people, I don't know, for 7 or 8 years. And always out of my home. And so doing work out of your home, as you know, it's like, it's cool because like your commute's really short. But sometimes like that separation of like the energy that's left over and then just like the psychological thing of that being in your home, it can be overwhelming. And so as I really let people know that I do energy work and Reiki and energy healing, more people were interested in coming. And I was like, well, I was starting to feel pressure about having so many people for one in my house. And then just wanting to have distance in that. And so that was like a part of the stem of starting the space. There was also a group of folks who were meeting over a few years, a variety of different healers and activists and artists, wanting to create some sort of collective. And I think at the time the conversations were interesting, but folks just we weren't all collectively ready at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And in thinking about One Village Healing, I was really thinking about that group of people and myself, and I went back and forth with like, well, when is the right time going to be, and who starts it and who doesn't, and so there was a lot of discernment and a lot of actually mess in the beginning. And then there was this point where I was trying to make something happen and it just was a mess. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to stop, I'm going to pause, and I'm going to allow guidance to come through and listen. Mm-hmm. And when I did that, everything just began to click into place. Mm-hmm. And literally, you know, the space where we're at which is on the 4th floor of the breathing room, and the breathing room is it's Breathing Room Community Yoga and Wellness Center, which is where One Village is located, which is at 216 Crown Street in New Haven. Breathing Room had just moved to that location after being somewhere on Chapel Street for like 9 years or something. Mm-hmm. And so they moved to 216 Crown and took over the 2nd floor and the 4th floor. And literally, and I just really give mad props to Margot Broom. Literally the space it was just an open, big spaces. And she came in and like with a big team, and her vision like created this amazing center. Wow. So Breathing Room has, you know, on the 2nd floor there are 3 yoga studios. There's the home of the Purest Float in New Haven, mm-hmm. where the float takes, and then we have a wonderful like din lounge and an awesome kind of gift shop check-in area. It's very beautiful. And then on the 4th floor, that is where, and there's also on the 2nd floor, there's Dr. Lindsay. She's a naturopath doctor mm-hmm. there. And then on this 4th floor is the Wellness Center, if you want to call it that. And so that's where there's like a lot. I think there's 8 or 10 different practitioners doing things up there. And One Village is the latest addition. And so when I learned of that space, the side that we moved on to was just a big open room, way too big for what our needs are right now. And I just was talking with Margot, and you know, we envisioned it and kind of co-created what it could be, and then, you know, within 3 months it was built wow. out. It was amazing. So for me, One Village is so about having a physical space where like healers like myself know that they can come and use and be in community with folks.
So is One Village considered, is it a co-op of healers, or is it a gathering space? How would you define it?
It's kind of all those things right now. Okay. So we're, I like to say that it's an emerging project, because that's what it is. You know, so the idea and the hope is that, yes, it will be a cooperative, collective of healers, and that in this time now, we do have, you know, Aidee and myself are the founding practitioners of the space, and then we have some regular teachers and practitioners who are using the space now. So we have a regular meditation with Aidee on Mondays. We have Zanzilla Yoga and Wellness comes and does track yoga and meditation on Thursdays. So those are like our 2 kind of core classes, and then there's all types of offerings that have happened there and that will continue to happen. So there's workshops that happen, intensives, workshops that happen over a series, so like 6 months, like once a month things. The amazing women, yes. It's okay to not be okay. Circles meets there, and so for
second Wednesday of every month
yes.
at 7 p.m.
Yes. And so for us, the process is about as founding practitioners and anchors is to hold the space and to make sure like the doors stay open, and then to like let people know the space is there, and so that it's programmed by.
And is all of your, so I know the yoga class with Shafal is donation based. Is all of the services donation based?
All of the services, are pay what you can or donation based. Okay. So each practitioner, so like Tama and myself, I see Reiki clients there, I do one-on-ones, I do all types of stuff, I do small group work. And so it is a part of our values, our principles that we tell the folks we're working with. If you don't have any money, like, that's not going to stop me from scheduling time with you, so pay what you can. So maybe today when you come get ready with me, you can pay nothing. Maybe in 2 weeks when you come, you can pay $25, or maybe a year you can pay the full rate. Not wanting to have payment be a deterrent for healing work, and in particular, One Village Healing is based in really reaching out to and addressing the impact of systems of oppression, right, on our bodies, on our spirits, on our hearts, and how that affects us, how we show up in the world, how that impacts our relationships with our community members, with our family, with ourselves.
And in that healing work is your focus. So in that venue of healing, I've heard different kind of like approaches. Some people particularly focus on Black and brown people. Some people focus on bringing Black and brown people together with white people and kind of healing in that way. What would you say your focus is?
My focus, so as one village, so we are, it's like healing justice for all. And in our values, we center the specific needs of those impacted most by systems of oppression. So we're talking about people of color, we're talking about women, immigrants, LGBTQAI+, people who are, have other body possibilities. Making this space and making workshops and programs available for those communities is sort of what we center on. And we understand that all types of people are impacted by systems of oppression. So giving space to people who don't fall in that category. And so we're very particular about also understanding that there has been historic, intentional othering and exclusion, of those people, of women of color, people who have different bodies in places of like healing and wellness. And so really being able to call that out and to bridge like the wellness gap, to say things like Reiki and acupuncture and meditation and yoga are for you, they are for us. And there have been so many people, particularly who've come to Shafa's class, who have told me or sent an email or said, I wouldn't have come to this if it wasn't, one, a space for women of color, and if it wasn't led by a woman of color. Like, I just wouldn't feel safe. I wouldn't feel like this is for me. And I feel like so many people say that. I didn't know that we could do it here, that we could, it's like, yeah, you can. And of all the groups of people, particularly Black women, we need as much rest and wellness as we can get in a day, based on, and I know that you know all the facts in terms of just the amount of cortisol that's in our bodies, the amount of intergenerational trauma that we hold, all of the negative messaging that we get, on top of just like living our lives as human beings and just trying to make it through. And so just to balance out the playing field, just in terms of like basic wellness, Black women need so much time to be in rest and restoration mode. And so we at One Village really believe in creating particular spaces of healing for different affinity groups, and understand that not everybody's down with that. That's cool. And that there can be multiple things happening under one roof, right, in one village. So there can be space for a class that's just for Black women and girls. In the same spaces, there's just a group of white men meeting to talk about toxic masculinity. Those two programs can happen under one village, right? It can all happen. And so just letting people know that, yes, those things are welcome. And we have classes that are community classes that everyone's welcome to, but not making there be any shame. around affinity healing and the importance of that.
When you opened the doors of One Village, one of your first programs was making space for activists to heal. Tell me a little bit about that. Share that with us.
Yeah, so that is a program, a session in collaboration with Black Lives Matter, New Haven, and CT Core organized now. It's called Healing in the Movement. And so it's once a month, and it's not on a set time. It sort of depends on when all the stars align and everybody's available. The Healing in the Movement really came from our desire to be in partnership and in alignment with social justice movements in Connecticut, and like locally and statewide. And so healing justice, like that term, comes from folks who were doing, like, in their homes, in their kitchens, like healing work with folks who were protesting, who were sleeping in, who were out in the streets. So a place where they could then come and like have this stuff released from their bodies or have a place of rest. And this work, the history of healing justice is very old, and so, but it's focusing on understanding that there's generational trauma and blacks in us that come from systems of oppression, and so when we think about the folks organizing and activists, often these are people who are doing the most with the least resources, both monetary resources, but also like spiritual resources and physical, they're just spent. And so it was just very important to be able to create a space where they could come and get work. And so Tama and I were trying to figure out, reaching out to people individually, like, come and get a session with us, come and get Reiki, come do a meditation, come to this class. And so it was very interesting in terms of timing. So One Village opened its doors on April 3rd, and then later, I think that month, that's when the recent shootings in New Haven happened, involving the Yale and Camden police. And so it was just wild, in like wanting, as we're like trying to reach out to activists and organizers, all these actions were happening, and so people were like, yes, I want to come, but there's action happening now, or I'm here, like, so it was very hard to like get people. And so and then in partnering with Black Lives Matter and CT Core, the organizers, they were like, we come in groups. Like, if you do something that's like a
you
group
gotta
thing,
make action. You gotta take action.
like, we will come as a group, and then you could like slowly get us like come to individual appointments. So we said, oh, okay. So we're like, okay, so let's have a monthly group healing session, and so that's what Healing in the Movement is.
So group healing in the movement is, again, not exclusive for. So I have to always make that clear when I say focus. Your focus is to attract people who are activists, so they can take time to heal for themselves.
That's right. And so activists, organizers, what I like to call artivists, because there's a lot of those out there. Anybody who's really just doing some major shifting, systems change work and resistance work, come, the next one is August 17th. You do have to register, so, and all that's on our website at onevillagehealing.org. But the Healing in the Movement has been wonderful. So this, in August, will be our third session. And so we do, really inspired by the NAP Ministry. Have you heard of it? So follow them on Instagram, NAP Ministry.
NAP Ministry, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful organization that's just all about the power of naps. And that naps.
Naps meaning like literal sleep in the middle of the day. Oh, okay.
Naps.
All right. I was thinking it was an acronym or something. No, it's like literally taking a nap. Okay.
Actually resting.
Okay.
Like as resistance, and like their whole philosophy is just about like that we're not machines, that we're not here to be, capitalist money makers, but it's about rest. And so the first hour of healing in the movement is like a small nap sanctuary. So there's blankets and mats and just like soft music playing. And just like come and rest. And it is amazing how many people are like, wow, I really need, this is the most basic thing on the planet.
Right.
You really need to just stop, And so We do the sort of nap ministry, nap sanctuary for the focused hour. Then we do individual small Reiki sessions, like 15, 20-minute sessions with folks. Tama has been leading a restorative yoga session. So yoga has all types of, people have all types of visions when they say the word yoga. This particular type of yoga is not about the asana, so it's not about fast moving things. It's really about opening up the heart chakra and opening up the hips, and it's very like on the ground. It's very slow. It's very restorative. So she leads that and the meditation, and then we have food. It's been really great. We've been getting it from the raw lot, which has been great. So we all eat in community together, and then Kelvin Young comes. You know Kelvin?
Yeah.
He is a sound healer, so he has like all these like crystal bowls and brass bowls and chimes and hand drums and all these amazing things that make amazing sound. And again, it's like you're on the ground, you can rest, and then gongs, it's like just wonderful shimmering sounds, and it's a sound bath. So each of the bowls has like a different frequency.
I've watched little videos online about sound bathing, but I don't know him personally. I've never experienced him personally, but I've seen stuff online. So I'm familiar with the philosophy behind it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Awesome. So that's what they've been so far. And they run about 3 hours, and it's been really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we have a few minutes left on the show. I always end my show by asking, how would you advise women to live life with purpose? Well, I should have gave you
well, I wanted to just also plug and say, just having intentions are great. Writing out a daily intention, writing out a mantra, for example. One of my latest projects is called Mantras for the Revolution, and it is an album with 7 short songs, one song for each core energy center. And when I first was singing those songs, it was really just very personal, and I was going through a huge shift in my life of really putting my energy and healing work forward, and like moving these ideas of creating something like One Village forward. And but I would take time each morning to be really intentional, take time to pray, and then to sing these mantras. And so they kind of came over a course of a year. But then at one point I had all 7 of them, and I would literally just like sing each of them, and like sing for my healing, sing for my release, sing for my higher, wisdom, sing for.
Would you be able to close us out with this song?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely could do that.
So we have probably 3 minutes. We could take maybe 5 extra. I want to thank everybody for joining, and I want to thank Hanifa for blessing us with her presence today. Remember, every Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. right here on WNHHLP 103.5 FM. Also streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. Until next week, I remind you to go about your week and be a voice and not an echo. But stay for a couple of minutes as Hanifa blesses us with a song.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So this song is called Sweet Revolution, and it is a song for the crown chakra. And the words are very simple. So the words are, in one revolution around the sun, in one revolution around the sun, in this revolution around the sun, breathe in, breathe out, speak truth. And so there's all types of double entendres in there about we're in one revolution, we got this one life, literally revolving around the sun. And we're also in this revolution of anchoring love on earth, the revolution of all the things, environmental revolution, social justice, women. We're here, right? And all these things might seem like they're all different, all these different movements, but it's one revolution. So about remembering that and where you fall into it. And to really do the work, you have to keep breathing. Breathe in, breathe out, and then speak truth. Speak truth to yourself, and then to others. And so here's the song. In one revolution, around the sun, in one revolution, around the sun. In this revolution, around